Hey you guys, it's your girl Asia Lindsay, and today I'm going to be telling you how I learned Spanish. Well, I guess it's better to say how I'm learning Spanish, como estoy aprendiendo español, porque I am definitely not fluent, disclaimer, but I consider myself upper intermediate, which means that I use Spanish in my everyday life. I can put it on a resume, and I can use it in a professional setting. All right, so let's go. Don't want to waste y'all time. Just want to give y'all facts so y'all can get started. All right, so the first thing that I use to learn Spanish is music. I absolutely love Spanish music. And some of my favorite artists are kind of mainstream. J Balvin, Bad Bunny, but y'all have probably never heard of Camilo. You've probably heard of Camila, but she doesn't really make a lot of Spanish music. Cami, I love her. And I like Enrique. He's cool. And Sech, Piso 21. The list goes on. But long story short, I love Spanish music. I listen to it every day in the car, on the way to the grocery store, on the way to work, while I'm working out. And it really helps with your listening skills, and it also helps you with your speaking skills. And I would highly recommend that you look up where someone is from when you're listening to their music, because it'll help you remember certain dialects. All right, so next is phone applications. I used Duolingo, and I absolutely love Duolingo, because it's free and it reminds you to practice your Spanish every day. And it's cute and fun. They have little like animated characters in the application. And if you want to, you can subscribe for their premium, and that helps so that you don't have any ads and you have unlimited hearts, so you can practice as much as you want. Duolingo has over 30 languages, and I've used it for Spanish and for French. But yeah, Duolingo is a great app. I would highly recommend you start practicing on an app every day, just to get the ball rolling. All right, number 3 is podcast. So podcasts are very, very helpful for listening skills and speaking skills. And I would highly recommend, as you're listening to the podcast, try repeating what you just heard. Podcasts are going to help you get that real life experience. I use the Duolingo podcast. That's also free. And recently I've started using podcasts that were actually made for Spanish speakers, because Duolingo is specifically made for English speakers. So now I listen to podcasts that were made not to teach Spanish, but to just share content. All right, TV. I really don't watch a lot of Spanish TV, because a lot of the shows that I've tried to watch have lots of stereotypes, like it's a family, there's a love-scorned female, and there is the cartel that's harassing the family. Like, it's just too much. Now that's not to discredit Spanish TV, okay? There are some great Spanish TV shows out there, but I haven't found many. One of the movies that I would highly recommend you go watch, if you have not watched it, is Talk Talk, which is a Spanish movie that addresses mental illness, and I just love the movie. So Talk Talk on Netflix, go watch it. Watching Spanish TV shows will definitely help you in your speaking skills, and you won't even realize it. Someone will say something to you in Spanish, and you'll respond with something you heard on a TV show, and you'll just be like, oh, who am I? All right, so those are all of the tools I use to get started with Spanish. Now, of course, I know I kind of went over that really quickly, but this is just part 1, okay, you guys? I'm just telling you the tools that I use to get started. Please feel free to ask me any questions in the comment box, or even suggest next video topics, because I want to share this entire journey with you, but I cannot fit that into one video. All right, so After I got started on Spanish back in August 2019, I decided to enroll in Spanish classes. And I decided if I'm going to enroll in Spanish classes and my job's going to pay for it, I might as well get college credit. So I decided to work on my second bachelor's degree, and I ended up taking a total of 5 Spanish classes. So in my first semester, I took Spanish 102, Spanish 201 at the same time, skipping 101 altogether. And I took a Spanish elective class. I got straight A's. So you can do it. You just have to find the right program for you. My second semester, I took Spanish 202, Intermediate Spanish Level 2, and Spanish 312, skipping 311. 312 is a writing intensive grammar class where I read some of the best stories written by some of the best Spanish journalists and authors. That class in itself has built my writing skills to like no other. I didn't think that I could ever read an entire anthology in Spanish, in advanced Spanish. And I learned about so many different Spanish cultures while reading Spanish stories. So, if you're considering taking classes, I highly encourage it. I'm all about education. And just know that even if you already have a degree, or if you're already working on a degree, Spanish is not too much to take on. You don't have to major in it. You can minor in it. But why not go ahead and use your college experience? Instead of taking electives, take Spanish classes. All right, time for a Q&A. I'm going to be answering questions that my friends and family asked me about my Spanish journey. Okay, so Desiree said, what was the most difficult part of your journey and how did you make it through? I would say the most difficult part was keeping Spanish learning fun while also working on a Spanish degree, because I want to use Spanish in a professional setting. I want to use Spanish in the courtroom. So I would say the most difficult part is wanting to use Spanish professionally, but also keeping the learning journey fun. And I got through this by listening to Spanish music. Incorporating Spanish music into my everyday life kept Spanish fun for me. All right, Kaylin wants to know, do I find it easier to write or speak in Spanish? That's a hard question to answer because when you're writing and you get stuck, you have your computer to help you. But when you're speaking, you're on the spot. Because when I make a mistake in my writing, my professor highlights it and then I just, move on. When I make a mistake in my speaking, it's a learning moment because I either say something really bad or I say something really funny. And then that moment stays with me and I always remember, oh, remember that time I didn't know how to say that and I said this? Or remember that time I said mejor instead of mujer, and mejor means better and mujer means woman, and I don't make the mistake again. All right, and Kaylin said, does the Spanish I'm learning help me speak with native speakers? Definitely. But nothing's going to help you more with speaking with native speakers than speaking with native speakers. You can learn as much Spanish as you want, but when you get into the real world and you have not had any practice, you're going to realize that you sound like a robot. All right, so Shanice wants to know, how long was my journey and a possible breakdown? So I've been learning Spanish for about a year and I took Spanish classes for an entire school year. The semester just ended and I feel like I won't be where I want to be until I actually go to a Spanish speaking country and I'm forced to do nothing but speak Spanish. Donovan said, what tips do you have to give someone that is just starting out? Calm down, you can do it. The one thing I love the most about my Spanish journey is that this is the first time that I have seen something that took a long time. I've seen the fruits of my labor. I mean, yes, I have my college degree and that took a long time and that is a beautiful thing. but I'm not working in my field yet, and I still want to go to law school before I'm able to get a job that I want. So for me, learning Spanish and being able to speak with people in Spanish is one of those medium-term goals that keeps me motivated towards my long-term goals. You know, you start working out and you quit because you don't see progress. You start doing a side business and you might quit because you're not making money. Well, with Spanish, you feel the benefit of it every time you speak it, the progress. And also, don't be shy. I missed out on so many Spanish speaking opportunities because I was shy and I was scared that the native speaker might not want to talk to me. Nisha said, Spanish words that sound like English words. So Nisha, these are called cognates. And be very careful with cognates, because I know that a lot of English speakers who want to learn Spanish, they'll throw an O or an A on the end of a word and think that they got it right. And sometimes that works. Sometimes it really does. But there are also things called false cognates. Now, a cognate is two words that look the same and mean the same thing. Those are your friends. But a false cognate is two words that look the same but do not mean the same thing. So for example, embarrassed and embarazada. Embarrassed means embarrassed. Embarazada means pregnant, okay? You don't want to be telling people you're pregnant and you're trying to say you're embarrassed. All right, so Gina said, explain why learning multiple languages is important. Es muy importante porque you cannot translate emotion, feelings, and culture. You can use Google Translate, but it will never be equal to being able to speak with someone in their native language and really understand them and their culture. Now, if you just get up out of the bed and you are just this awesome human who connects with everyone, great. But for me, learning languages helps me to connect better with native speakers, especially if they don't speak English. And that bond, that feeling that you get when you speak to someone in their native language cannot be matched. All right, and finally, Kira says, what similarities have you found between the two languages? I honestly think there are more differences than similarities. So that's a hard question to answer. I have to think about that. But I'll give you an example of some of the main differences. So English prefers the active voice, and I believe Spanish prefers the passive voice. Tom painted the entire house, where the passive voice is the entire house was painted by Tom. So if you directly translate Tom painted the entire house into Spanish, you're not wrong, but it just doesn't sound like what a native Spanish speaker might say because they prefer the passive voice. So they would say it and they would kind of rearrange the sentence. And so that can throw you off a lot. So that's why I say it's really important not to just try to directly translate everything you say. All right, you guys, comment down below if you have any additional questions, and like this video if you feel like I helped you get motivated to go start learning Spanish or whatever language you want to learn. And definitely share this video with someone who is learning a language or wants to learn a language. All right, you guys, I'll see you next time. And as always, love, Lindsay.